They found the cave. The news reports, we found the cave. It's filled with red-haired giants. Crazy. Winnemucca was right. You believe in giants? Where's the evidence? So you've got the oral record of the Native American, the beautiful, brilliant Native American people. And they're like, yeah, this happened. And science is like, no, it didn't. Because science. O.C. Marsh. Now, back then, bona fide, if your first name is letters, that's how it works. Because his name is like Orthanlio Chandralandian or whatever, and it's like, no, I'm O.C. Who would do that? Who would go by the name of 2 or 3 letters? I'll tell you who. Someone who's bona fide. I'm going to change my name to V.O.R. Jones. O.C. Marsh, the swashbuckling Yale paleontologist, was America's first Darwinist. Look at that. In the 1870s, Othniel Charles Marsh was a professor, bona fide. Yeah, bona fide. Look at this guy. How bona fide can one get? He's got letters for a name, Yale professor, 3 certifications, 3, like horse evolution, who is fighting off Native Americans. Fighting them off. I don't think he's fighting them off. I think he's fighting them on. I think if he was in wherever he came from and they were there, he might have been fighting them off. He was fighting them on. He came to their land. He was a leading paleontologist settled in an elite university, but he wanted to be the top fossil finder. That ambition and drive made for one of the ugliest chapters in the history of American sciences. The American sciences is a horror story of ugly chapters. It's ugly chapter after ugly chapter after ugly chapter. Speaking of the Native Americans, did anybody see the TikTok video of the young Native American historian Winnemucca? Maybe? I might be wrong there. And cave, the Ludlow Cave or Ludlow Cave. I've heard of this before. It's a good summation of it. I was thinking about doing a video on it. But yeah, she's like, yeah, we used to fight the red-haired giants. It was a whole thing. They were terrible. They were cannibals. They would eat us. It's like, hey, giants, you stay over there and don't eat us and we'll be okay. This isn't in the story, but I imagine that discussion happened between some of them. It's like, no, we're going to eat you. Fine, we're going to have to kill you. We do outnumber you. I've heard, and I think this might be insensitive, so I'm sorry. 5 finger salute was that we had 5 fingers. Make sure you don't have 6. Which is crazy with AI. That AI is like 6 finger, everything 6 finger. Anyways, Winnemucca's chief or whatever was like, do this, make them show your hand, and if they have 6 fingers, we have to kill them. And they did, like this whole war ensued. And they got their red hair, and she sewed it into like the necklace or whatever, and then they chased them all into a cave. They lit the cave on fire, and then they found the cave. So you've got the oral record of the Native American, the beautiful, brilliant Native American people. And they're like, yeah, this happened. And science is like, no, it didn't. Because science. This is one of the yahoos that I'm sure pushed that story. This guy was probably literally fighting off the natives, was probably literally killing them and stealing their bones and their record of giants. I would bet money on that. I don't have a lot of it, but I would bet some money. You shouldn't do that, but I would. Like, how fun would that be? Let's do a Back to the Future DeLorean gambling. I got 5 on it. I got 5 on it that this guy, the first Darwinist in America from Yale and Princeton, was fighting off the natives, was him going to their tribes and killing them and stealing all of the records of giants that they had. This guy's wrapped up in the Bone Wars. Yeah, they had the cave. They found the cave. The news reports, we found the cave. And it's filled with red-haired giants. Crazy. Winnemucca was right. It's just all... You believe in giants? Where's the evidence? In O.C. Marsh's closet. We haven't had one of these in a while. Marsh was driven to find fossils, to prove his theory. That's all. That's all he was doing. First evolutionist. If we can find something that resembles proving our theory, it's going to be really good for us. Really good for us. One of his many classic discoveries, you can see like the O.C. Marsh greatest hits of like Triceratops, Stegosaurus. He also uncovered a complete series of fossils that beautifully traced the evolution of the horse. Can you imagine? Of all of the good fortunes, oh, Nathaniel Charles Marsh, you are the luckiest man alive. You found a complete series of fossils that beautifully trace the evolution of the horse? Lucky me. O.C. He pub... I hope atheists watch this. Marsh published his fossil history of the horse, which included an illustration of the successive changes in the equine forefoot. Nobody believes this. Wait till you see who this guy is. Driven to find fossils, fighting the natives off, finds the Triceratops with his classic hits and the Stegosaurus, and he also uncovered a complete series of fossils that beautifully trace the evolution of the horse. He published his fossil history of the horse here, which was a drawing. He published a drawing of the horses. He found the fossil record history of the evolution of the horses, and he published the drawing of it. Not the fossils he found. One has to ask themselves, did he have to find the fossils if he was just going to draw them anyways? We found Orohippus. 1, 2, 4, 5. A. Figure 75. Myopiphus. 2, 3, 4. Miocene Hipparion. 2, 4, 5. And then this guy. Equus Nubfoot. Quanitarian. This is still in textbooks. All right, I'm going to skip all the way down. Terrible, terrible person. They were lying. They were blowing up dig sites. They were bribing people. It's a standard nightmare, lunatic, psychopath science stuff. His success with the horse was spectacular. Influenced scientists such as English biologist Thomas Henry Huxley. It's weird. Literally, it's a club. The X Club. It's literally a club. This guy influenced the grandfather of Aldous Huxley. What are the chances that Huxley fell out of bed and bumped his head and wrote a story of a 100-year future dystopia that we live in now? Unfortunately, Marsh's linear model of evolution was too successful in capturing both the public and the academic imagination. It was unfortunate because it was so wrong. It was so wrong. I didn't know this when they're poor beginnings. He was born poor. Fast forward. Rich uncle. George Peabody was born in 1795 in South Danvers, Massachusetts. Peabody, you ever heard the name Peabody? A Peabody Award? George Peabody's bank later became J.S. Morgan and Company. If that name sounds vaguely familiar, it should. Peabody had taken on Junius Spencer Morgan, father of J.P. Morgan, as a partner. Peabody's bank ultimately gave rise to the British merchant bank Morgan Grenfell, part of the Deutsche Bank, as well as J.P. Morgan Chase, and also to Morgan Stanley. Amid this meteoric rise in the financial and political worlds, Peabody found time to support his nephew, O.C. Marsh. Did you think O.C. was just a guy? Just a passionate guy with a fervor for horse femurs? That was his whole thing? Fighting the natives off his back. Making the discoveries. This is who wins awards. Okay? This is who wins. He probably won a Peabody Award. J.P. Morgan helped fund the American Natural History Museum, chock filled with eugenesis. It's a club. It's literally a club. X Club, private scientific club of Victoria, remarkable for the power that its 9 members exerted on the scientific and cultural climate of the 19th century. Rejecting the traditions of British natural theology and the privileges of the established church and its educational institutions, the X Club represented the naturalistic movement in science. Nevertheless, they added, the highest benefits of science are intellectual. Bona fide. Scientific reasoning trains the mind as effectively as a classical education, and leads to a true understanding of the, say it after me, natural world. You are living in a material world, and you are a material girl, because we need more bankers and politicians and engineers. Is that what Bill Nye says? You want to deny evolution and live in your world that's totally inconsistent with everything we tell you to believe? Fine. But don't do it to your kids, because we need them. We need more scientific minions.
And I say to the grown-ups, if you want to deny evolution and live in your world that's completely inconsistent with everything we observe in the universe, that's fine. But don't make your kids do it, because we need them.
Scientific reasoning trains the mind. Scientific reasoning trains the mind as effectively as a classical education and leads to a true understanding of the natural world. Please let that soak into your head. Atheist, person who thinks that you're having an organic, proprietary thought, sentient thought, you're not. You are thinking the thoughts of these men. And you think they're your own. And that's when the enemy wins. When he puts his thoughts in your mind and you think you're having an organic thought. Scientific reasoning, how you perceive this reality, trains the mind as effectively as classical education and leads to a true understanding of the natural world. On the basis of these principles, X-Club members claimed cultural leadership for scientists rather than the clergy. Yep. The scientific establishment that we are in today is the result of the brainchild of these people who were funded with Morgan bucks, and they just decided that if your scientific reasoning is effectively controlled, that it's more effective than a classical education, and that they were going to replace the clergy with scientists. Yes, it is a religion. And to say so doesn't make you dense. It makes you an astute student of history. Defended Charles Darwin and his theory of evolution, campaigned for government support for science and jobs for scientists, and demanded a place for science at all levels of education. The scientific eminence, the word is eminence. Remember I talked about the empire? It's an empire. Social status, hard work, and political astuteness of the social status of the X-Club members were all essential to the group's success. They succeeded. Okay? They succeeded. It's a thing. They got it. They did it. They did this thing. Dinner parties to what you believe. By electing one another to office, that's a conflict of interest and nepotism. Who cares? By electing one another to office and through effective networking, these men were influential in scientific societies and became leading advisors to the government. Ooh, imagine that. As popular lecturers, scientific influencers, which is like a Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson's, contributors to elite journals, including Nature, founded by this group, Nature magazine. Do you know that? Nature magazine, the vaunted peer review process. Why isn't your science in Nature magazine? Well, because these yahoos made it and they put what they want in there. Contributors to elite journals and textbook writers. I make a note. I made a note. It says how science works. It's funded. Money has to come from somewhere, right? Scientists don't work for free. They need money. You got to fund the scientists.
I have been approached by two different federal agencies that give grants. Both times the people were in my office and told me this. They said, you can stop writing proposals to this agency because you're never going to get funded. They were my friends. They were just telling me you're wasting your time. Somewhere above them, it was not being funded. Somewhere above them. And so two different friends of mine from federal agencies told me that I was not getting funded.
Who then influence academia. Academia influences the media. And then all this information is written in the history books. Science. And it's always going to work. History is penned by the winners. And these guys won. They won. And you believe what they believe. And if you don't, you're me. A dense, dangerous, disinformation, disingenuous artist who's exposing their cult. And it's good for me. I love it. Hard to make a buck, and not the path a lot of people are going to take.
There are people, obviously, many, many people that are interested in this, and you decided it's worth going over the heads of the elite gatekeepers who don't like this stuff and who will not allow you to speak, in a sense.
If I don't do this, who will? I mean, it would be much more threatening to a young professor to say what I'm saying. I mean, they even come up to me. They say, I agree with all your videos. Don't use my name. And I understand that. I understand it. And I appreciate they're telling me this. Why do they want to subject themselves to this kind of nonsense? And so if I don't do this, then who will?
By electing one another to office and through effective networking, these men were influential in scientific societies and became leading advisors to the government. As popular lecturers, this is the media, this is the influencers, this is the Neil deGrasse Tysons and the Bill Nyes and the Michio Kakus and the Lawrence Krauses and the Stephen Hawkings, whatever. Contributors to elite journals, Nature Magazine, Science Magazine, Smithsonian, all these different kind of things. And textbook writers. They write the textbooks too, and the history. Yep. They were among the prime interpreters for science for the industrializing and secularizing society of Victorian England. Secularizing society of Victorian England. It is literally our literal history. And I am telling you your history. This isn't about science. This is about control. And they need workers. And they need politically obedient people who worship the state. Wake up. I am not your enemy. I am trying to wake you up. You are in a created reality. You are in a designed reality by a creator that loves you. They stole that from you. These men stole that from you.